This is Hellspawn Part 2 with Slasher here at MLG Anaheim, and when we caught it, I asked him, the esports situation, do you see it as it's a new peak, or do you see it's coming back from like 2005, 2007? After it was a financial crisis with all like ESWC going down, actually CPL, CGS and so on. What's the current shape or state of esports?
Well, I think the economy in general is getting back to a little bit of normalcy. 2009, at least in that era. So we're doing better in terms of the whole worldly economic scale, which I think helps in general. But I think it's not the same ballpark as before, and we're much better along now than we were as we used to, especially because of live streaming, which is a recognized revenue model that has spawned 4 different startups and companies, and Ustream being, Justin TV being the biggest two. Both Ustream's taken $50–60 million in financing. Justin TV is profitable. Both of them do well. Plus, there's live stream and Stick'em, let alone YouTube's doing their own live thing. So that alone is its own business model. And esports, more than any other medium in the world, maybe, has embraced this type of technology way before it was even possible to make money off of it, which is a good reason why CPL and ESWC and all those other leagues aren't around anymore, because these sites didn't exist. You had to do it through like Windows Media Player, or you had to use Akamai and pay prices that are like 30 times the way they are now. So on that end, it's completely different, and I don't think we're never going to go backwards. So technology is only going to go forwards. It only get easier and cheaper to produce and to make. And advertising will get better and greater because you know your audience and how to do it. On the other hand, we now have StarCraft 2, which took 10 years in the making to make, which is now by far the greatest title in competitive gaming history, and the biggest. Doesn't seem like it's slowing down anytime soon. You have 2 new games in the series coming out, and it's not switching to a new game, so it's still the same game, which is only going to further populate the title to continue on for another 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe another 10 years. So you have a game that's not going anywhere, and you couple it with the other big game, which is Street Fighter, who has a new game in about 8 or 9 years. And both those games together have caused such a resurgence in North America, at least, which is the hardest market, I would say. I would say even Europe and Asia especially are ahead of the times culturally, in terms of competitive gaming, accepting it as a whole, as well as watching it on TV. So for we to now being almost in the forefront of everyone with those 2 games says a lot. And not to mention you have League of Legends and Dota and that entire market, which is bigger than it's ever been. So I think that, coupled with the fact that we needed some leagues to die, almost. There was just too many. No business model really behind them. It was just kind of like everyone wanted to do an event because they love competitive gaming and esports, so they did it and they threw it, and then they put together some rules along the way, but no one really thought about like how it was going to ever make money and be a sustainable business model to hire employees to do work full time all year and be able to stay in business. So now we have what's left is leagues and organizations that have been around for a very long time, and they've seen everyone else kind of die off and things that have happened, and they see what they did wrong and what different things that they each did. And also now they have all this new technology and perspective from the old times to see where they basically need to keep going in the right direction for them to stay afloat and to stay in business. Otherwise, they know they're going to end up like everybody else and go under, and then it's nothing going to be anymore. So I actually don't think we're ever going to go back down again. I think we've had these like 4 different, 3 or maybe 5 up and down. I don't think we're ever going to go back down unless there's some major circumstances that happens between different things that would cause major issues, because I don't think with the infrastructure that we've finally built, media, leagues, games, developers, publishers, community, we're like the closest we've ever been. So it would be a shame if we went backwards at all.
Cool. So talking about streaming, MLG is moving on with a new kind of business part, and that it actually is streaming. You have built your own studio, and you had a kickoff at the 4th of July. And as I understood it, you were together with JP McDaniel, the two behind the event. Can you tell us a little bit more what we will see in the future with this studio and kind of like side tournaments?
Yeah, sure. Well, technically we have 2 studios. So we just moved into new offices in New York City. We moved 4 floors down in our new office on 34th and Park. And we have a new studio built there where productions and events, live tournaments, shows, all types of stuff will happen in New York. And then Mark Turner, Single Coil, formerly of Godfrag, and JP have also built a studio in their place down in Galveston, Texas. And that's where they did the 4th of July show from.
Okay.
So there's actually 2 full studios that are going to be running simultaneously with the launch of, that was kind of like a preview of MLG Live, what could be done with MLG in terms of an online tournament structure type of thing. And I think it's going to be great. I mean, my whole goal, at least with JP and Mark, was, of course, StarCraft 2 is kind of like the featured game. It is the feature game. It's the easiest game to use for online play. But I want to put in Quake, I want to put in Halo, I want to put in Black Ops. We had more time, we were doing the fighting game aspect of it. I really want to do, at least I personally want to do, diversify as much as possible and be able to really be a leader in competitive gaming as a whole, not just one title. Where, you know, certain games, because of their size, are going to get priority. StarCraft 2, fighting games, League of Legends, other games like that, as opposed to Quake. And, you know, I love Quake, but I actually did pretty well. Quake did rather well that event. And I don't think anyone's ever really done that before. People just do 1 game or 2 games, they don't do it on the same day, let alone like an hour later. So we can provide coverage where, you know, you're watching StarCraft and you get to watch the best fighting game players in the world, then you get to watch Counter-Strike and then Quake and then end it with Halo, and then you do State of the Game to top it off, and then live on 3 after. Like, that is sick. And that's better production and I think a schedule than anyone's ever been able to pull off before. So at least that's my hope.
So what can we expect from the future with it? Because I guess this was like trying out and showing like the broad spectrum of what you can do, but can we like maybe see a StarCraft 2 weekend with a tournament, or is it like maybe weekly leagues, or like do you have anything that you can say of the concept that you're going to use this MLG Live with?
Well, I mean, you have this thing floating around. You know, when you interview Sundance, he'd probably tell you all types of stuff. You can learn whatever you want from him. I say that's definitely possible. You know, absolutely. Why not? I mean, do whatever. Really, just do cool stuff. I just want to do cool stuff, and the amount of cool stuff that you can do is almost unlimited. Especially in an online setting where you just need 2 players to hop up, or whatever, 2 teams, multiple players. You can pretty much do anything. So I think there's unlimited possibilities.
Overall, how did you think that the show went on? And I must, of course, ask, like, any comments of Too Good's accident, or, I don't know, his comments and the actual fact that they kicked him off during the show? Anything you want to say?
I don't know. I wanted Jay to do it because he's from the Quake community, as much as he's did WoW and he's doing Bloodline Champions and he's other different part of communities. I mean, I wanted to put on Quake specifically on the show because Quake has nothing else to do any of the time, and Jay has always been one of the featured members of this community, so I thought it'd be cool, especially because I thought it would be me and him, and that we haven't done that since WSVG, but we did do that originally, and that caused some other things that have been on Rakaka before. And I don't know. And then, you know, it happened, and it was frustrating to me. I felt like I understand what he was doing, and, you know, he was trying to make a joke, and I'm cool with that, but I don't know, I thought it was just uncalled for. So, I mean, I wasn't really in the decision-making process of him being off or not, but, I mean, he kind of just brought it on himself. I mean, I can understand his point in terms of the humor aspect of it, but then again, not really on an official type of production such as that. If it was like a talk show, or if it was a radio show, or if it was, even if it was a more DIY type of thing, I think it would pass. I mean, borderline pass. But because of, you know, the way it happened, it was just like, Jay, why are you doing this to me? Yeah. And fun little fact, I guess I'd mention it. Before we started the show, I'm like, Jay, can you please be cool, good show all the way through? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be great. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm tired of showing. So, thanks, bro.
You're doing, of course, one of the biggest shows like Live on 3, and there you can use your journalist part, which you have been very known for. Has it been hard for you to transition going into MLG and like maybe being biased in some situations where you actually can't speak what you think of, or has the transition been easy for you? Because, or like, how do you handle that kind of stuff? Because the show is no fluff, and of course it has to be some fluff with EGs, Surskoots, and maybe with yourself, MLG.
Well, I mean, that's how we've always made the show, being no fluff, and that's kind of how I've always gone about it since I joined on like 2 years ago. And we've had Sundance on the show, so I've known Sundance for a good amount of time in terms of MLG, and I've had a good rapport with him, and he's been on the show, and he knows what the show is about and how we run things and how we do things. So when I joined MLG, I mean, I talked about it with him and my boss previously, Joe, before he left a little while ago, and I explained my position and that I, you know, still wanted to do the show, and I was going to keep doing the show kind of how I was going to do it, and it wasn't going to be any different really. And you know, MLG's been pretty understanding. They haven't really had any problems, and I'm able to do what I've done. You know, luckily since I've been joining MLG, everything's been awesome. So everything is so awesome that really every show I just get to insert MLG awesomeness in every Live on 3 now.
Well, so, we both know that's not totally true, although it's been great. You have to still agree though, yes, you might still have some freedom to speak your mind, but denying that, you know, you might step back from some facts that some other shows might bring up of stuff maybe happening around MLG. You do sidestep from.
Well, here's what it is. If there is a situation, I guess you would say Dallas would be the biggest example here. Dallas was part of the show. I just had no comment of, like, I have no official MLG comment on anything regarding MLG. It's not even my place to give comment in general. My job at MLG is to run social media, so I'm not league ops. Like, I have nothing to do with anything. I mean, you know what I mean. Like, I don't have room to comment on anything that happens. So I feel like I'll bring in the topic and introduce a discussion regarding the topic. But me myself have I can't state anything on it because I have no official ruling on it, I feel. If I was actually in more of a league position, maybe with someone like Carmack, I would feel a little bit more inclined to give an answer like that. And then there's my opinions on it. Yeah, I mean, I will be a little lax about that type of stuff. Yeah.
All right. Agreed. No?
No, but yeah, I just want to say, like, it's nothing strange. Like, the industry is so small, so people like always sit on many seats. Anyway, with MLG, it's going really good this season, 2011, expanding. And we can see it here at Anaheim. We saw it in Columbus. So much attention, great games, great atmospheres, more sponsorships, and so on. What do you see in the future? Is it like maybe expanding games, or is it changing games? I guess you would like to get back to a fighting game. Before it was Smash Brothers and was Tekken 6. Would that be like the next step, or do you think that maybe try to solidify what you have now, or is it even getting a separate StarCraft 2 league, or like what's your thoughts on it?
Well, StarCraft 2 has been awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's like now the biggest game in North America. And who would have thought that strategy game
Yeah, that's strange.
in America more than like a year ago was nothing. No one cared really about StarCraft 1, Brood War here, or Warcraft 3, more than maybe like 50 people would come up to show and play and watch.
I mean, a great example was just WCG 2010. It was empty. It was empty.
And Flash Shadowdown was one of the best games I've ever seen, and it was empty.
Yeah, and now it's filled.
I mean, in Seattle, WCG, and then you had WCG in San Francisco. All of them have been kind of like meh. StarCraft 2 helps a lot. I love fighting games. I think fighting games are number 2 here in the U.S. specifically, also, which is huge. I also think they're good for simplistic. The most simplistic thing to the average audience is 2 guys fighting each other on a 2D plane. And then I think actually one-on-one shooting game like Quake. I actually put StarCraft 3rd, but you can debate that all day. So, I mean, my kind of ideal is, I like to give everyone equality, so all games considered. If it is a good community, and it's a good game, and it's a high skill ceiling, and there's developer support, and there's money behind it, and there's a player, and there's players, and there's, you know, commentators and whatever, then it deserves to be featured. So, I mean, there's Gears of War 3 coming, there's Modern Warfare 3 coming, there's Dota 2 coming, there's Heroes of Newer, League of Legends, StarCraft 2, Diablo 3, like, I'm down with everything. I don't care if we have 15 games, as long as they're all awesome, and they're all working properly within those sets. Of course, everything has to be more defined. You can't have 15 games at a live event or anything. Yeah, pretty open.
Cool. As maybe a last question, the journalist part of esports has really been declining. It was much stronger in the past. What do you think is needed for it to be like bigger and better? Maybe having journalists getting salaries, having a like normal media coverage. Do you have any thoughts of it?
I read Affentad's article, and I know maybe this is kind of where it's coming from recently. I actually think that all of the old journalists, Carmack, I guess you'd say myself, Greg Karn, Ponder, we all work for leagues now. We all work for organizations. We all have real jobs higher up in the industry, and I think that's a big part of it, where these people, and I would say myself included, are needed to do things other than the journalism portion that are necessary for everything to move forward in this industry. So those positions now are left open for other people to fulfill, and we actually have this whole new like surgence of amateur journalists, not amateur, but new journalists on Team Liquid and SK Gaming and Complexity, all these new guys that have only been around a year or 2, or they're only recently coming to the scene, and they're trying hard. You know, they remind me of all of us back like 6 years ago, except they have it much easier. They have Twitter, Facebook, blogs, they already have platforms, and I think that those guys need to be taught by old school journalists. We need to educate them on history and knowledge and give them perspective and the leagues and the players, and they have to know about things so they can do their jobs better. So I think it's part of the old generation needs to help the new guys get in, because the old guys are needed where they are. And there are still some old guys like Thorin who have stayed a journalist. I like to think I've stayed because I do Live on 3, and Carmack has tried to do some interviews lately. So we're trying at least a little bit. I think it's going to be, it's up to the new guys to pull it forward. We're going to have to help them. And I also think there's some other factors like leagues. Like, I wish that we had press day like after each day, and that we brought players into a press room, and that there was a huge press lineup. We all asked questions. You know, make it more like sports. I think the Korean leagues did it. Yep. They still do it some, and then BSWC did it for like a year or so sometime. So I think there could be some help in that area. The leagues can help facilitate the players, and that'll make it easier for the media. I just think it's work ethic. I want journalists to do research and know what you're talking about, so when you ask questions, it's interesting and you're not retarded. That helps so much.
Was that to the camera or me?
Definitely to the camera. You're the best. I watch your show all the time.
You get a lot of it too?
I learn Swedish. I know my bitches. I know Saz. Interest.
That was. I barely heard what you said. That was
cool.
Yeah.
Fredrik, you have any last questions?
No, I think we covered it all. And man, new record and longest interview at MLG.
Yeah, right.
Ever.
I talk too much.
No, but it's good.
I talk way too much.
Any final words, shout outs, or anything you want to say?
No, it's been a lot of fun here at MLG. There's Anaheim, and then Rally is next month, and then Orlando the month after. I should be going to QuakeCon next week.
Cool.
I am not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm unbanned. Like, I have not found out if I'm actually unbanned, but I'm pretty sure. So I'm just gonna go and see what happens and hope I'm not.
Yeah, like just for those who haven't followed, for last QuakeCon, Slash was banned because you had spread some information that was already known to the community, but in some way that hit you. Or you want to make a comment about it?
Okay, it's my fault. When I originally signed up for Quake Live in the first beta, like 2.5 years ago, I signed an NDA for the focus test. Me being lazy, never actually did anything in the focus test ever. I never actually tested Quake Live because I'm an asshole in that respect. Bad person, should have tested, really should have did it, but I never actually went there. So eventually I couldn't even log into the focus test because I just never logged in and I got my access removed. And then I was casting USWC 2010 and I had to wake up at 4 a.m. each night to cast. And at the very end of my cast, it just so happens ZeniMax bought id Software recently, and they were into the studio, into their offices to listen to USWC.